This week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob is not brought to you by a sponsor, like always. It is, however, a collaboration with the upcoming fan film Scream the Fan Favorite. So go ahead and like them on Instagram and check out their Indiegogo page. Welcome to I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm James Chalmers, your friendly neighborhood film snob. And this week, guys, we have a really exciting episode. And I know what you're thinking. Nick Owen's back. Nope, I do bring Nick Owen back whenever it's exciting, but this week's really different. So different that I actually have to do a bit of an intro. So what I'll do is I'll tell you a bit about what's coming up, and then we'll bring my very special guests on. So before I introduce this week's guests, I want to talk about the importance of fandom. We're all movie fans here at Film Snob HQ, obviously. Some of us casual, some of us a bit more diehard. But fans are the most important part of the film equation. The general audience will go and see a film or movie once. The fans will visit that theatre again and again and again. And the fans are the ones buying the merch. They're collecting the toys. They wear the T-shirts. They're the ones who go to the midnight screenings and festivals. They'll cosplay as their favorite characters and buy the special edition steelbooks and Blu-rays. Fandom creates change, everyone. They can turn a box office flop into a cult classic, or they can save a project entirely. Just look at Zack Snyder's Justice League. Some fans are happy sitting on the sidelines watching their favorite movies on repeat and talking about them with their friends. Some of them record those conversations and put them on the internet. And then some fans cross the threshold and start making their own movies. And I think some of the best filmmakers started as fans. Just look at people like Kevin Smith, Edgar Wright, Sam Raimi, Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez, and even the likes of Steven Spielberg and Wes Craven. So please welcome to the podcast today two fans who have crossed that threshold, and I'm sure they're going to add themselves to that list very, very soon. The talent behind the upcoming fan film Scream the Fan Favorite. Please welcome the writer-director Tyler Hansen and actor-executive-producer Harley Bronwyn.
Hi.
That was you're very welcome. Thanks for being here. Did you hear that mouthful I had to utter to get you guys introduced?
Oh my God.
I loved it.
It made me emotional.
I know. We got a little emotional. And then as soon as you started talking about fans and getting their steelbooks, I was just showing Harley my anniversary 4K steelbook. Just came in 2 days ago.
Nice one. I just had I don't have the steelbooks for Scream, but I just had my trilogy Blu-ray delivered 2 days ago, and I was like, oh, perfect timing. I'm about to speak to these guys about their fan film. My Scream film has come through. I was actually watching the original one last night because it's been a few years, and I was like, I should rewatch it before I talk to these guys. And and I didn't finish it. Oh, it was so late. It was like almost midnight, and I was like, if I finish this film, I might be tired for the episode. So I prioritize you guys over Nev Campbell and Wes Craven.
Oh, thank you. That says a lot because I worship both of them.
Absolutely. No, nice one. So excited to have you guys on the show and making time. I know it's late afternoon for you in LA, so very excited to have you here. We're going to do the show as we do normal, but as I mentioned, you guys have a film coming up. You guys are crossing the threshold. You're in the midst of a crowdfunding campaign at the moment. Tyler, you've written and you're going to direct the film. How did it come about?
So my producing partner, Sean Liang, we were in development on another horror film. And one day he calls me and says, hey, have you ever seen a fan film? And I was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. What's a fan film? And he was like, well, it's a film made by fans. And I was like, okay. And he said, I think we should do one for Scream. And I was like, yeah, I am sold. And because I have studied this franchise since I was like 7 years old.
Wow.
And jumping at the opportunity to like make my own, I didn't know I could do that. And now that I can, I fully dove in, and within like 3 days I had a script written, and now we're in pre-production and we start filming in less than a month. And as you already mentioned, we're like crowdfunding because I'm trying to go as big as I can with it, as bloody, as scary, as funny, to really hold true to the franchise.
Fantastic. I have been keeping up to date with the promos on your Instagram, and I think you posted one just the other day, a really funny one where you hadn't quite got enough funding for the blood, which I thought was very good. And that was you in the clip, is that right, Harley?
Yes, that's right.
Very, very enjoyable. I dug it quite a bit. A nice one. And Harley, how did you get involved in the project?
Well, Tyler and I have been friends for the past couple of years. We met in acting class and we bonded over our love of horror films. We have a group chat with a couple other friends, and we go see every horror film that comes out. Like, we have the AMC Stubbs A-list, and it doesn't matter how good it looks, we are in the theater watching the latest horror movies. So, of course, we also have, watched almost every classic horror film together. We've gone back, we've watched like all the Conjurings, and Tyler, loving Scream as much as he did, was like, okay, we're going to rewatch the series from the top. I think we had a friend who had never seen them before. And I don't think I had seen Scream 3 or 4. So he's like, okay, we're going to watch it together. And then watching it with him is like having an encyclopedia of Scream at all times.
I preface any time that, because within my friend group, I host marathons of the franchise, like, a lot.
It's okay.
And so I always preface by saying, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to like spitball a shit ton. Can I cuss?
Yeah, so you can say what you like. Absolutely.
I'm going to spitball a shit ton of like fun facts at you. Yep. And if it's annoying, sorry. I can't hold my geek back. And I will tell you, it is my pet peeve when people say, can we watch with subtitles?
Okay, wow.
I know every word of all of the movies, and it's not as impressive when they show up on the screen.
Fair enough. I'm very much like that. Like, I think I annoy my wife quite a bit. I'm like, if we're watching a Marvel thing or something, I'm like, person was, or if watching that's not a Marvel thing, I'm like, that person was, was in Daredevil and things like that. She's like, all right, shut up, I'll leave you.
Harley's done a couple of my movie marathons for Scream.
Yeah, I think I've watched them all the way through maybe 4 or 5 times with you now.
Wow.
Yeah. And I learn more each time. I also am very forgetful. So I think the first 2 times I kept being like, wait, who's the killer? The joy of watching movies with me is I forget what happens, and then it's like the first time all over again, and it's just as exciting.
I mean, if that was a superpower, I'd take it. Like, there are certain films, if I could watch Clerks for the first time all over again, I'd be like, oh my God, I get to rediscover this film. So many films like that. So no, I don't think that's a bad thing at all to forget it, and then you can re-enjoy it from the beginning. Well, clearly, Tyler, you're a fan of the slasher genre. Is it just Scream, or do you go beyond Scream? You mentioned you've been watching a lot of horror. Well, you guys are always seeing horror films. What's the latest thing you guys have been watching? Aside from Scream.
Yeah.
I just saw Smile.
Yeah.
Which I really, really love.
Same.
I just finished rewatching the Halloween franchise.
Nice.
Well, I have to watch Halloween Kills. I loved Halloween 2018. Halloween Kills, I mean, I'm going to watch it again, but I'm not as thrilled.
I have a theory on Halloween Kills. Do you want to hear my theory?
Yes.
Halloween Kills is not a horror film. That's my theory. I was watching it and I really enjoyed it, but it's not a horror film. But my theory is Halloween Kills is a drama all about trauma. And it's all about what happens after the monster is dead or what happens the next day. And so it's not really built with scares. It is the most violent of the Halloween films, I think.
It's very violent.
But in terms of horror, I think it's really more about that kind of emotional trauma and how do we get over it. And there's that really wonderful scene, and I'm going to really geek out here. Listeners of the show will know this, but I cry and everything. That scene where they're in like the hospital and they're saying evil dies tonight got me teary. I was like, oh my goodness, this is so beautiful, but not a horror film.
That's fair. I'm curious about Halloween Ends. Like, I'm going to go see it next week. But I mean, I love the Halloween movies. I love the Nightmare on Elm Street films. I mean, mostly just the first one. The rest, New Nightmare was enjoyable. But the movie that actually got me into the genre was I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh, what a great film.
I love that movie so much. It filmed where I grew up.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was 5 when it filmed. And it's like this small North Carolina coastal town where nothing really happens. And so the fact that there was like, a Hollywood movie being filmed kind of became talk of the town. And I'd already known I wanted to be an actor at that point. And so I latched onto it. And when it came to theaters, I like begged my parents to take me, but they would not take me.
To be fair, you were a child, so.
I know. I was
thinking that's a good parent,
But I outsmarted them because when it came to Blockbuster, so I'm an only child, and I actually attribute that to like my love of cinema because I just watched movies all the time by myself. But every Friday, my mom would pick me up from school and take me to Blockbuster to rent movies for the weekend. And I had this bright idea to take the VHS behind I Know What You Did Last Summer and put it behind a Disney movie.
That's genius.
Walked down the aisle with my mom and like handed it to her. And, she was over 18, so she wasn't going to get carded. So she rented it for me unknowingly. I took it to my room as soon as I got home and I watched it. And that's how I ended up watching every horror movie that my little town had. And that's how I saw Scream for the first time.
That's great. I mean, when in Australia, it was a little different. I worked in a couple of video stores. They were my first jobs. But we do it a little bit differently over here. So the VHS tapes weren't on the shelf. They were in like a room behind the counter. So it was just an empty clamshell anyway, so we couldn't get around that. But that's a genius idea. And I Know What You Did Last Summer feels like a franchise ripe for remaking. Like, why haven't they rebooted that one yet?
Well, I mean, they did a TV series of it last year, right?
Yes, I did hear about that. I am a little bit behind in the news. I'm a new parent. I've got a 2-year-old. So like the last couple of years have been, between that and COVID, I've gotten to the movies like less than 10 times in a few years, which is a bit disappointing. And like just falling behind on everything. So I try and watch where I can. But I did know they did a TV show. How is it? Okay, cool. So moving on.
Yeah. Well, see, they were going to try and reinvigorate the franchise. Like in 2016, I think Sony had put a remake in development that ended up going nowhere. And not long after that, they decided to do it as a TV show because, you turn everything into a TV show now.
Yeah.
It's Gen Z's I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Sure. Okay.
So, if you love the original, I mean, you're obviously going to find flaws with this one, but I mean, it did get canceled after one season, so I'm not alone in my feelings, at least.
Hey, you're talking to a diehard Friday the 13th fan. They haven't done anything with my boy Jason for 15 years almost, so I'll take anything at this point.
There's some like speculation that there's a new one coming out within the next like year or two.
Oh, good. Because I liked the reboot. I'm pretty forgiving of movies. When I was younger, I was hence the name of the podcast. I was pretty snobby and picky. But these days, I'll try and find something good in everything. And I like that remake quite a bit. I just want more of him. My boy Jason, he hasn't done anything in a while. I wrote a spec script like a decade ago. I'm like, this is where they should go next. And then put it in the closet with every other script I've written because I was like,
go make your fan film.
Yes.
Have you heard of Never Hike Alone, the Jason fan films?
No.
They're crowdfunding for I think the sequel right now. There's this filmmaker. His name's Vincente DeSanti.
Okay.
I don't know if that's right, but he made a very successful Jason fan film.
Oh, great. Okay.
His campaign for the sequel is like through the roof.
Yeah.
Wow.
People want it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's not promote anyone else's campaigns on here. Let's get all the money to you guys. I know you've got a goal for the end of this weekend.
It's already closed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Vincent, who anyway? You guys have a big event happening at the end of the week. If you hit your goal of 8,000, I believe everyone's going to be assaulted with various foods.
Yes. Yeah. We ended up on pie. I ran a poll on my Instagram and, gave a couple of options. There was the pie, there was ice bucket over our heads. There was eating a tomato for me, which people who know me know is my absolute worst nightmare because I hate tomatoes with a dear passion.
I'll meet you there. I'm also not a tomato fan. So
thank you. Wow.
My people just like bite into one.
Oh,
I'm all about the winter veg. You give me like a pumpkin, like some broccoli, some carrots, potatoes. I'm all there.
I am right there with you. Yeah, people. So we have 8 cast members who have volunteered to be pied if we hit 8K by Sunday evening. So we're really, willing to take one for the team. One of our cast members, he's like, spaghetti, wine, whatever. Just put it on my head.
Yeah, I saw that this morning. Yeah. Nice one. Well, let's go back a little bit. The project sounds amazing, and we'll definitely talk more about it before we wrap up today. But I want to know more about the two of you. Harley, I might start with you now. We just had a bit of a chat with Tyler. The love of film begins somewhere. Where does it begin for you, and what is it about film that has turned you into such a fan?
Yeah, I feel like growing up, I just had a lot of time alone at home. I watched a lot of movies, similarly to Tyler. But my family, I also come from a family of artists. My grandfather is an opera singer, and my mom was an actress and a singer. And so the arts were just something it was always infused in my life. And I was also just a very dramatic child. So my parents signed me up for theater quite young. And I remember one of the first plays I ever did was called Fairy Tale Courtroom. And I played the, boisterous comedic relief. And I got that first laugh and I was like, I'm addicted. I need more. And yeah, I was the oldest too. So after my brothers went to bed, my parents would let me stay up and watch films with them.
Nice.
And I feel like I just was in love. I was in love with the whole experience. I was in love with watching people experience like the most joyous times of their life and also like the hardest times of their life, and getting to like experience that through them. And I mean, with horror in particular, my parents took me to go see Signs when it first came out in theaters, and I was, I think, 10 or 11. And I had nightmares for 6 months.
Wow.
I was absolutely hooked. Like I couldn't believe that watching something could stick with me so much. And I thought about it all the time. And it's obviously started as like terror, but it grew into this fascination and curiosity. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to make stuff that sticks with people, that like when they're going to bed at night, it's all they can think about. So that really got me stuck on horror. But yeah.
It's addictive, that feeling. I was talking about it last week. We were doing movies that scare you most, and I talked about the first one that really got me was Final Destination. And it wasn't like, most of the kills are pretty wacky in there, especially as the franchise goes on. But that first one where he gets hung over the bathtub, like, sat with me.
I'm still scared to drive behind log trucks. Like,
I think the world is. Anyone who's seen that movie knows to avoid it.
Getting over. Not going to do that. Not going to mess with it. Yeah.
And were you a video store kid as well? That was where you got most of your entertainment? Yeah.
Yeah. So I spent a lot of time with my grandfather growing up, and our like tradition was to go to Burger King and then to Blockbuster.
Oh, I love that.
It's a great afternoon. We would get chocolate shakes and fries and then go to Blockbuster, pick out a movie, and then head home. And unfortunately, a lot of the times I had to pick movies that were, appropriate for my younger brothers. But that also gave me an appreciation for, like, I'm now a huge Marvel fan and a huge DC fan because I spent a lot of time watching superhero movies. So I don't hate that fact. I think it opened my eyes to things that maybe I wouldn't have watched otherwise.
Yeah, sure. I love the fact that you like chocolate shakes and fries. Like, that sounds like the perfect existence for me. Chocolate shakes, fries, horror movies, done. That's a perfect night for me.
In the chocolate shake too.
See, you're speaking. This is the universal language. We're a world apart, but I can appreciate that. And I understand the not wanting to watch the more child-appropriate films. I think we all go through that phase especially when you're a teenager. When you're a teenager, Disney is the worst thing that someone can recommend for you. But and then, I'm too cool for princesses. Like, where's the blood and guts? Nice one. And now, Tyler, you mentioned obviously Blockbuster being an instrumental part of your growing up, but is that where it begins for you, or what is it that ignites that passion for film for you?
I wish I had like a clear answer. It's so interesting because I mean, I just remember being obsessed with movies and wanting to be an actor my entire life. Like my mom says that I was maybe like 3 years old and had just like actually sat and watched my first movie and was just like, I want to do that.
Wow.
And I just never changed. And I remember at 5 years old, like begging my mom to move me to LA, and just like being like an angsty like teen, being like, I'm gonna get out of this small town eventually. But I don't know. It's so weird because there are no like artistic people in my family. I have like a fifth cousin who's a costume designer who has like an amazing singing voice, but like other than that, everyone just like hunts and fishes. And I was the like kid who was like, but can we watch a movie? And there was like nothing in particular that I can like pinpoint as the reason. It just like just always was what it is.
But that's you can do the Chris Pratt thing. Isn't he big on hunting? And also, you know, he's Star-Lord and he's Mario now and all these things. So you can do that. I had a similar experience growing up. My parents weren't particularly artsy. I had some people who, strangely enough, I had some family who were also into costume and things like that. But we're a very sport-driven nation down here in Australia. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. We definitely scream it loud enough, so you probably are.
Yeah.
But it was never been my jam. Like I played soccer as a kid, but never really did much beyond that. But I was like, oh, you know, yeah, we could watch everyone go for that ball, but you know, we could watch a movie like 5 weeklies for $7. Like, isn't that, you know, that's cheaper than going to football? So I definitely relate to that. Excellent. But you guys are doing it now. Like you're in LA, you're in the middle of a campaign, you're in pre-production. In less than a month, you're going to start working and your dream's going to come true, which is awesome.
It is. Yeah. It is very exciting. I think when you first move to LA, I mean, there's such an idea of what it's going to be like, and there's so many avenues to be successful. And honestly, moving here, like what the definition of success has changed for me multiple times. It used to be just, you know, being successful in these like A-list movies, whatever, but making something that we love and that we're passionate about and that we're pouring our heart into, like that is the dream. And we're just so excited to be working together, like collaborating with people that we love, our friends, you know. Yeah. We also, like through acting class and working on other films, like you just meet so many talented filmmakers, so many talented filmmakers, and to get an opportunity to collaborate with them it's freaking awesome.
That's great. Excellent. And I agree, like the A-list thing, I think we've all done it. I don't think there's anyone on this planet who hasn't at one point or other been like, oh, I want to be Brad Pitt. I want to be center stage. But I mean, I like Brad Pitt, but do you know how I like more? Bill Moseley, Michael Berryman, like all those character actors who are doing cool roles and just show up in all my favorite like B-grade, you know, indie films. Like that's, you know, I talked about Kevin Smith before. If you guys haven't noticed, but I'm a huge fan of Clerks and Kevin Smith and all his stuff. Like he's not front and center, but at the same time, like he's got the career that he wants. Like I think that's, if you're going to pursue the career that you want, not what I guess other people's definition of success is. And
you know what? Kevin Smith got to be in a Scream movie.
Yeah. Well, that was the first Scream movie I watched, and it was because he was in it.
I love that.
That like half-second cameo.
Yeah. Nice one. Well, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, like, I found, like, being in LA more, well, I'm coming up on, like, 8 years, and my definition has also changed, and, like, the people whose work I find myself more drawn to now, it's like the Duplass brothers. Like, Mark Duplass he's kind of my idol in a way, and he does everything. I mean, he writes, he directs, he acts, he does the music, he's just so immersed in the entire process, and also Radio Silence. The guys doing the new Scream franchise, like I've been fans of theirs since Ready or Not came out, and like I went back and watched everything dating back to their YouTube videos, which is what got them into VHS, which got them into Sundance, which got them their first studio film, which now they're doing Scream. Like there's so many like avenues that you can take, and I just feel like this, like the whole like creating your own work, it's hard. Like I'm not gonna lie, but I find the more passionate you are about it, the more people like come to you and they're like, I want to help you because I like the passion that I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And the community grows, and it's all about who you know.
Yeah.
And yeah.
And I think what you guys are doing is great, which is you're finding that niche. Like, yes, Scream is a global franchise and people are familiar with it, but it's still not everyone's cup of tea. And going into just being like, this is my niche, this is where I'm going. You mentioned that Mark Duplass before. He's been in two of my favorite films of all time. Creep, obviously, is a wonderfully weird movie. And Safety Not Guaranteed, which is a completely different film altogether, but again, a wonderful independent film. I don't think anyone succeeds if they're trying to get the mass audience. You're never going to please everyone. So you better finding your niche, sticking to it, and then the fans will find it. That's what I've done here. Like, as I said, this is not a wildly successful podcast, although after today, we might see some numbers go because I've got some absolute A-listers on. But at the end of the day, I was like, I just want to talk about movies with fun and interesting people. And if I get to do that once a week, then that's success to me.
I love that. And because of that, like, I hope this podcast blows up.
Truly.
We'll be walking the red carpet in no time, guys. Don't you worry about that.
We'll get an autograph from you next time you're in LA.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm really curious to hear your lists. That's what we do on the show. It's not that inventive, but everyone has a different number of favorite films. We're focusing on horror, being October and Halloween approaching, and of course, the fan film as well. We might jump back to you, Tyler. We'll start with we'll just go back and forth. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What's the first film on your list that you want to talk about?
Okay, I'm gonna cheat with my first one, and say it's tied.
That's fine. There's no rules. No rules here.
Okay. Oh, I love that because that's like, well, we'll get into that later. Halloween 1978. Yeah, I mean, it's such like such a defining moment in the genre, and it's like the music. It's like everything about it to this day. I still watch it and still get goosebumps, and still like I get why it was so monumental when it came out. And it's pretty much a perfect film. Have you watched sorry, I'm getting on like a slight tangent.
No, that's fine.
The Movies That Made Us on Netflix?
No, I've seen a couple of them, but I haven't seen the Halloween episode yet. No.
I highly suggest you and anyone listening to this go watch it. It's great. And then the one I'm going to tie that with is Midsommar. I heard you talk about it on the last episode.
Yep.
And it's so good. It's so creepy. It's all done at daylight.
Also, it has my queen Florence Pugh.
She's brilliant in it.
I
think she's like our generation's Meryl.
She is.
Yes. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, she can do no wrong.
Love her so much.
So my number 5.
Midsommar is, first of all, it's beautiful. And the fact that it didn't get a nod for anything is, I mean, I know awards are arbitrary and stuff like that, but that film, like, there's so much love into that. The first time I watched it, I wasn't a parent. The second time I watched it, I was. And so that opening scene, I was just like,
oh my God, I can't even imagine.
I was like, can we put a deadbolt on the kid's door? I know she's 2, but like, let's.
Yeah, you're like, okay.
It's gorgeous, and it's not boring. Like, it's a 3-hour movie. The only way you can get it now is the 3-hour cut. And I was like, oh, that might be a tough rewatch after the first few, but it's not. Like, it's so well paced. It's so visually interesting.
I saw it opening night, and then I went back the very next day and watched it again.
Yeah.
Less than 24 hours later, I went back and watched it for a second time.
That movie is in my top 5 favorite films of all time. Now, obviously, as film fans, that list is arbitrary and changes pretty regularly. But for a film that new to jump to my top 5, like, everything else is at least 15, 20 years old. But that one just skyrocketed. It's so well executed. Like, Ari Aster obviously has such an eye for detail and such an eye for character. I mean, Hereditary, I never need to see again because that's terrifying. But Midsommar, like, oof, the Hereditary, like, that is a bleak film. But Midsommar somehow, I feel like there's a bit of hope at the end of it. And I don't know whether maybe I'm watching it wrong, but by the end of it, I'm like, no, she got what she needed. She's empowered.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny you say that though, because Hereditary is on my top 5. And I feel like that because I mean, my top 5 is really based off of it's movies that stuck with me. It's
Yep.
my top 5 horror films are what gave me nightmares for the longest period of time. That's
Well,
how
and
I
that's the way I approach the question. Like, and there's no wrong approach to the question. Like, you can just list your 5 favorite, but that's what I did. So I'm sure when people look at my list from last week, they'll be like, "Oh, Final Destination's on there." I'm like, "Yeah, but I was 12, and that is I couldn't tell the difference between horror and comedy at that point." Um, and like The Descent is on that list as well, and Hereditary and Sinister, and
So scary.
yeah. Yeah. Love Midsummer. Halloween we kind of glossed over. Just a perfect film. I mean, the score, with the exception of maybe John Williams' score from Jaws, is there something more iconic than just those piano keys? It's so beautiful, and the way it builds, and
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, so brilliant. And John Carpenter, I mean, he did so much on that film. He co-wrote, directed, music, produced. I mean, that was like a shoestring budget too. It was so tight. And he made a masterpiece with it, which is so inspirational and just like I think speaks so much to his talent.
And it's such an iconic film and such an influential film that they keep changing canon because they're not satisfied with the way they sequelized. They did like Halloween 2, and then they're like, actually, we're going to jump forward and do this. And then they try to reboot in the early 2000s, and now there's the new canon, like which ignores everything except for the first one. Like, there's so much love for that movie that people keep trying to respect it in different ways, which isn't a bad thing,
It's not a bad thing, and I think that speaks like tenfold to the original.
Yes,
because of how good it is. I will say, like my like storylines of the Halloween franchise that I like. I love the original Halloween 2. That's also like a favorite of mine. I loved Halloween H2O. I saw it when I was a kid. I just rewatched it a couple of weeks ago for the first time in like 10 years. And my like Scream geek self. So there, okay, I just got to say this.
Do it.
So Scream was inspired by like Kevin's love of Halloween. And in the opening scene, after Casey Becker's death, her dad says to her mom, "Get in the car, drive down to the Mackenzies," which is what Laurie Strode says to the kids, like, "Run down to the Mackenzies" at the end of Halloween. So Halloween H2O, Kevin Williamson is credited as a co-producer, and he did a rewrite of that script. He's not credited with writing it, but towards the end, Jamie Lee Curtis has her son and his girlfriend in the car. She gets out, decides to stay on campus, and says, "Get in the car, drive down to the Beckers," which is Casey Becker. And I just like my mind was just like, I just look for those like little inside things.
That's great.
That one retconned. Obviously 3 is in its own universe, but like 4, 5, and 6. And then I really loved 2018. We know I didn't love Halloween Kills, but I have hope for Halloween Ends. But yeah, you can't mess with the original though.
I told you I was rewatching Scream last night, and I hadn't watched it in a couple of years. And the last time I watched it, and this will probably put a dagger in your heart, so I apologize. I was just kind of like, this is fine. It's a bit cheesy. It's when I watched it for the first time, I was like, I came to this too late. I'd seen the scary movie films first, so much of it was spoiled. But I was watching it last night, and that opening scene with Drew Barrymore is chilling. It's really scary. It's
brilliant. It's one of my favorite like 12 minutes of cinema ever.
And I don't know whether it's because, I don't know if I mentioned it already, but I'm a parent. But I don't know whether like that was part of it, but just the parents discovering their daughter. I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Just as a woman, like the amount of times that I've been home alone, I live alone. I probably shouldn't say that.
She's got 2 attack dogs.
I have 2 attack dogs, big monstrous dogs. But yeah, like that idea of just being home alone, someone calling you, being able to see you, you can't see them. Like it's terrifying. It really, really, it hits on that idea of like feeling completely powerless and out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. And to connect it back to Tyler's other film, Midsummer, that must have been a refreshing twist. We're like, oh, the boys can be victims for once. Finally.
It's a female empowerment film, and girl power all the way.
Girls get it done, as we learned from the boys. Where do you stand? I know we've been hanging on these two for a little bit. We're talking about Halloween. Where do you stand on the Rob Zombie films? Okay.
Thing. I have respect when people think that they have an interesting take on something so original and are bold enough to go for it.
That's a really complicated burn on Rob Zombie right there.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't like them.
Yeah, fair enough.
I don't like them.
Yeah. The first one's brutal. I remember the first time I watched it, I was like, this is terrifying. And I would have been 15, 16 years old, maybe a little bit older. But when I watched it the last time, I'm like, oh, this is a really mean-spirited film. This is really like this. It's very hate-driven, which is not what Halloween is. The second one, once he takes his mask off and starts making noises, I'm kind of like, look, props for giving it a go. And there's some things in that film I do like. I do like that it's more atmospheric and it is, kind of a bit more. It abandons the slasher format and tries to do some really kind of unusual things, a lot like Lords of Salem in a way. It kind of feels like there's a bit of a connection between those two films. But yeah, I do agree that like it's not really a Halloween film.
Yeah.
Alrighty, no worries. Harley, what's the first film on your list now that Tyler and I are done talking for 20 minutes on those two?
This is number 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I wrote them down, and I have been editing this list because I just can't make up my mind.
Oh, it's an unfair question. The format is very cruel, so don't worry.
I'm just like, wow, there's so many. Okay, so my number 5 is actually, it's kind of random, but Exorcism of Emily Rose.
Okay.
With Laura Linney. It came out, I honestly, I saw a lot of these movies as a teenager, and they just, like that one in particular, when Emily Rose is upside down, backwards, her back's all bent, like that image just, I couldn't get it out of my head. For every night when I would go to bed, I would just picture that. Just the haunting of, her trying to start a life going to college and just like continuously, I don't know, exorcism movies really get me.
I still haven't watched it. That trailer terrified me. Like it's one of those ones where I just haven't got around to it yet. Is it Jennifer Carpenter from Dexter? She plays Emily Rose? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, she does. And she's so bendy. She's so bendy. I was like, this woman is actually possessed.
Yeah.
Her body can do. But yeah, she's such a talented actress. And like, she really, her like portrayal of fear is so beautiful to me. It's like a thing to say, but I loved it so much. And I thought it was like very powerful female characters. And yeah, it scared the shit out of me. And I loved it. I loved being terrified. I think a part of it is because like, I don't consider myself a religious person, but I haven't really decided whether or not I believe in ghosts. Because sometimes I'm like, no, I don't believe in ghosts. But then other times I'm like, but they're in my apartment right now.
I've had that feeling as well, where I'm like 99% of the time like, nah, there's no ghosts. And then, I watched Last Night in Soho and my daughter woke up and I saw faces in the room. I'm like, okay, well maybe, yeah. Thanks, Edgar Wright, for making the scariest film I've seen in a while.
100%. And like my youngest brother, when we had moved into a house in a small town, and he was like convinced he was seeing a little boy down in the basement, and he was like 4 years old. He had no reason to make that up. Like I don't know. I was like, you don't have the context to make that up. So yeah, like my entire life, I've gone back and forth of whether or not I believe in ghosts and all those types of things. It's similarly like Paranormal Activity. The first time I saw that, I was like, this could happen. It scared me so much because I'm like, yes, it's a movie, but also, am I going to be possessed by a demon? I don't know. Maybe.
Look, it's definitely a question worth mulling over. And I think we should all take a moment after this episode and just question whether we are going to be possessed and what do we do? if it does happen. We need our anti-possession emergency kit ready to go. Your go bag for possessions.
Yeah.
Now, we haven't talked about exorcism movies on the show before. We haven't really talked a lot of horror until recently because most of my guests don't really dig the genre. I tried to bring some horror in when we did our 80s chats, and I talked about The Fly, and I talked about
oh my God.
and Toxic Avenger and things like that. But exorcisms have not been mentioned, so I don't want to spoil your list. If there's other exorcism films on your list, we won't talk about them. But what are some other go-tos for you if they're not, that aren't on your list?
Well, okay, that aren't on my list. Interesting. I mean, The Exorcist was that was also a film I saw probably too young, and was also told that the set was like there was weird things happening on set, and so like the combination of seeing it as a child and then knowing that real things were happening, I was like, okay, so the line between reality and fiction is very blurry to me. But it's such a classic, and I thought like the practical effects were for the time like chilling and brilliant, and yeah, I mean, it really set the tone for me in a lot of ways.
That film still works. I watched it only a few years ago, and it holds up. And I forgot how nasty it is. For a film made in the 70s, you're like, oh, this would be pretty tame because they weren't pushing the envelope the way we are these days to try and get people to watch it. But like, I remember my dad told me he watched that, and after I saw like that crucifix scene, I'm like, you watched this movie?
Yeah. I rewatched it during the pandemic and was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm still spooked. Still.
And even the makeup, when Satan, rears his ugly head, I was like, this is surprisingly effective. Like I was watching it at like 2 a.m, rocking my daughter to sleep, and I'm just like, oh, she's seen all the classics. She was an infant, but she, her first film was Logan. So I've been a bad dad from day one.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Nice one. And with sorry, just to talk about Exorcist, the other film I think of with The Exorcist, even though it's not exactly the same subgenre, Rosemary's Baby is another one where I'm like, how did they get away with this in the 60s? Then you remember it's Polanski and like all that. That's how they got away with it. But it's a really intense film for its time period. I can't believe that. Like,
it is. It's funny. We just over the summer we watched The Birds. And
what a great film!
It's fun to watch films that were, because obviously now in the context of like CGI and practical, like the effects are so different, and so you're like, wow, okay, like the scares came easier then a little bit, and so like I think when you have a film like Rosemary's Baby or The Exorcist that still are actually scary, after all this time, not that The Birds isn't still a great film, but I was like, people were scared of this. Oh.
I know.
Okay.
I know. Laugh at it.
It's a comedy.
Well, I also think The Simpsons really ruined that film. Like they. Nice one. Excellent. So Tyler, we'll go to 4.
4. Okay. And I'm jumping on what Harley said. Like my lists are like impactful horror movies, not necessarily like my all-time favorite cinema moi. I will say one of the first horror movies that like got me was one of the ones that I snuck when I was a kid, and it was Blair Witch Project. Because I couldn't, they make you believe that it's real. Mm-hmm. And as a 7-year-old watching that movie, and I'm also sneaking these movies, so I can't like go to my mom and be like, "Is this real?" So that one got me. And I think it paved the way for like found footage horror.
Yeah.
In a way, and 100%. To this day, it's still so scary. None of the sequels have gotten me because I feel like for such an impactful movie like that, it's kind of like the first paranormal movie. Like some of the sequels are fine. Like I think Paranormal Activity 2 is pretty decent. It's a pretty good follow-up. But it's the original in those franchises that it's like you kind of already made your mark and you can't exceed what you've already done. But Blair Witch, Man, I still can like feel that in the pit of my stomach when I first saw it.
So what is it about Blair Witch for you? Because I'll be honest, like it's a bit slow for me. Like the isolation of it is terrifying, and I talked about this last week as well. Like I think the things that I relate to in horror, the things that scare me the most are that surrender of power, that isolation, that feeling of being alone. Much like what Harley was talking about before. Basically, I'm an actress in LA. That's what I relate to. But what is about Blair Witch for you? Because I did feel like, whilst I did feel that isolation, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, no worries. It's not really anything kind of jumpy or visually terrifying for me. And that's not me having to go at the film. That's just how I interpret it. What scares you about it?
I mean, it was definitely different watching it at 7.
Of course, well, yeah, sorry. Good point.
But it was super impactful to me then, because I also lived like the setting of my house was a horror movie, because it was like this secluded house surrounded by miles of woods. And I used to love playing in the woods. Like that was one of my favorite things to do. And I was a very like my imagination as a kid was huge. And I used to play horror movies. Like I'd get my friends like, let's play Scream. Let's play, I don't know, let's make up a killer. And we'd go to the woods and play. And so when I saw Blair Witch, for a second I was like, oh my God, what if that's in my woods?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And I will say, like, I I didn't really get the art of movie making when I was younger. I used to think when I went to the movie theaters that the walls on the side, like the curtains, behind the curtain, the actors were back there, like, making the movie.
I love that. That's great.
Performance art.
So okay, I'm going to add this as a very impactful horror movie, because I am terrified of snakes. And like a friend's parent took me to the movies to see Anaconda.
Oh, what a film!
I thought that, like, the acting was happening behind the curtain, and that terrified me to no end. And that movie still freaks me out. That's like one that I don't like to rewatch.
That's one I saw when I was too young as well, and I always think about the throat, when they put the knife in the throat to get the bug. Yeah. Like that was, I think I was under the age of 10. That film came out in 97. So I would have been, between 10 and 12. I remember seeing that more than anything else. I was like, okay, that's flawed. And then John Voight obviously getting spat out of the snake. Pretty gross as well.
Yeah. All the end of that movie too. I hate snakes.
That's well, at least you got something in common with Indiana Jones, so that's all good.
Yeah.
Nice one. Found footage, obviously. Blair Witch did kind of pave the way. Everyone always ignores Cannibal Holocaust. Like to me, like I was like, that's the first found footage film, although it didn't really.
I haven't seen it either.
You don't have to. Like it depends on what your nastiness scale is. Like there's some really horrible stuff in there. Like it's pretty extreme, even by today's standards. But I always considered that the first found footage film, but it's a rough one. It's especially with the animal stuff. That's quite sad. But
I have a hard time anytime there's animals involved. I'm like, my little heart can't take it.
Yeah, it automatically becomes like one of my least favorite horror movies if you kill an animal.
Yeah,
that's a really good point. Because there are some wonderful films, but like one of my favorite, a film that I've grown to love over the last few years is Eden Lake. I don't know if you've seen this one. It's a British film, one of Michael Fassbender's first films.
Love him.
And a couple go away on a camping trip to like the British countryside, and they start getting terrorized by teenagers. Just another reason for me to dislike teenagers. And it's got I can't remember the guy's name now. I was gonna say Chris O'Donnell, but that's the guy from Batman and Robin. He's a British guy. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But anyway, they get terrorized by these real hard like British kids, and they start getting like it becomes very Saw-like. We'll just say that. But there is a dog that's harmed in that, and that made it quite hard to watch. But if you can get past that, and it's not too graphic, it's a wonderful like suspenseful like horror film. I would definitely recommend Eden Lake.
I'm gonna write that in my notes app so I can remember for later.
Up to like 48 hours later, and you just blocked me on Instagram. You're like, that was too horrible.
I've seen Human Centipede, so I feel like after seeing that, anything is
Did you watch the trilogy, Harley, or did you stop at 1?
I stopped at 1.
That's the right move. That's the right move.
I went into a weekend being like, okay, we're gonna like watch these. It was with a group of friends in college, and after the first one, my friend had the audacity to order pizza. As we were, I will not be friends with you anymore.
At least they didn't get like those Frankfurts that are all linked together. That would have been.
Oh no!
There we go.
Right. Silver lining.
So that's the bar. That's the bar there. Cool. Figured that one out. All right. You don't need to see 2 and 3. 1 is totally watchable. I think anyone can, although I'm pretty desensitized, so maybe I'm, don't watch Human Centipede, guys. Harley, what's number 4 on your list?
Okay, so again, it's another exorcism movie, but The Conjuring.
Great film.
Yeah, I saw, it came out, I guess I was maybe like a sophomore in college when it came out. And at that point, I had seen so many horror movies. I was like, I'm immune to being scared. Like, I'm immune to nightmares. I've seen them all. And I went with a friend who was like, I hate horror movies. And I was like, come on, it's going to be fine. It's like a fun, some exorcisms, ghosts. It's going to be super great. Traumatized both of us.
Mm-hmm.
It traumatized me, like the clapping out of the closet. Literally, I think it was 3 full months that I had trouble falling asleep after that movie. And I also I love Patrick Wilson. I think
so great.
So I think he's such a great actor. So really anything he does well.
I don't think that guy can put in a bad performance.
I don't really like Aquaman, but everything else.
No, that's why Aquaman's a long, wacky film. Like the first time I watched it, I wasn't sure. I'm like, oh, they're really committing. They're like, we're only going to make 1 of these, so let's put everything in this movie. Right. Here's an octopus playing the drums. Like,
yeah. Honestly, what got me about that movie, this is a complete side tangent, but the hair underwater, I was like, this is too much. It's too much. I'm so distracted by your hair on the way it was moving underwater. Like, I get they wanted to make it look real, but it was just there's too much motion happening, and what a silly thing to be distracted by, but
No, I think it's the details that are what make it. You talked about, for me, it's.
Okay.
Awesome. Which I talked about last week, and I feel we didn't talk about it again. That film's brilliant. James Wan, I'll claim him. He's Australian. It's great, but has a pretty stellar record for movies. And it's very easy to outstay your welcome, especially in the horror genre, because it's so easy to make I don't say bad film, but let's be honest, a bad film in horror. And for him to keep reinventing himself and doing all these wonderful different things. And The Conjuring does this thing, and I'll explain it to my wife. The thing it does is it's not a jump scare film. And it does something very similar to what Ari Aster does with Hereditary, where they just make you sit through something horrible. Or like with Conjuring, he builds tension, and then the scene ends. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, because you're like, anticipation where you're like, oh God, okay. And then, you're like, oh, wow. Yeah, I love, that is the feeling. Like, I try to explain to because my mother hates horror films and does not understand my love for them. And the way that I see it is that life is so stressful and there's so many things to feel horrible about that I like to have controlled stress. Because I know what I'm getting into. It's a complete distraction from the stress of my real life. And it's, you can then, you're volunteering yourself for that feeling. And it's much more enjoyable that way, I think.
It's the roller coaster effect. You don't want to jump off a building, but on a roller coaster, you're pretty safe.
Yeah, I attribute my love of horror films and roller coasters to my dad, who also loves both of those things. And my dad took me to he took me to see The Ring, The Grudge, Signs, any horror movie I ever wanted to see as a kid. My dad would be like, all right, let's go. Yeah.
No, nice one. And I love that you're a fan of Patrick Wilson. As I said, I don't think the guy can do any wrong. Even he's one of those actors where it doesn't matter how good or bad the film is. He's always 100% committed.
So true. So true.
Is it Conjuring 2 where he sings Elvis? He sings "I Can't Help Falling in Love with You." He has
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh. Right? But that I'm like, the love story in that. The Conjuring, they're horror films, but they are also romance films. Like
yes, absolutely.
So beautifully romantic. About a couple who just like loves each other, wants to help people, and has this like really incredible bond.
Yeah.
And that's my sweet spot, is like live somewhere in that like romance horror.
No, I love him. I think he's great. I don't know if you guys seen Hard Candy, also another great film with Patrick Wilson. Very disturbing, but it's not a horror film, but and it's got Elliot Page as well. They were in it. It's about 10, 15 years old now, but yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, and like it's definitely for men, I think, a tough watch, especially after what Elliot Page does to Patrick Wilson in that movie. But I definitely would recommend. Really suspenseful one.
I got it on my list.
Nice one. And also, just one more thing on Conjuring, Joey King, one of her first films, and she's going to be a really wonderful actress.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I just saw Bullet Train.
How is it?
I loved it. One of my favorite films of the year. I thought it was such a great time. It was funny, exciting, ruthless. The acting was incredible. The pacing was genius. I love when Brad Pitt plays kind of like goofy weirdo. He's so beautiful. Yeah. But like, to me, it's like when he plays the sort of, I don't know, they're almost dorky. And I'm like, yeah, give me that. I love that.
Yeah. Like when he like puts on a character actor facade.
Yeah. I think that he lives in a really sweet spot there. And Joey King is absolutely incredible. And I'm such a huge fan of hers. I watched, I'm blanking on the name of the show. That was like based. Yes. So have you seen that? It's like,
I haven't. I've been told that it's a tough watch.
It's a tough watch. It is definitely a tough watch. She's so committed. And I feel like that's part of why it's a tough watch, is because you're like, you really buy in. So
I'm hoping she gets some media roles. I'm glad she's in a Brad Pitt film. That's going to really help her star power as well. But she's just one of those actresses that I'm like, she should be doing more. Like, like she's doing the Kristen Stewart thing right now, where she did a couple of Kissing Booth films. Kristen Stewart did Twilight, and everyone's like, oh, what a terrible decision. I was like, no, that's the smart play. You make the money, and then you choose whatever movie you want to do. And then Kristen Stewart did like Underwater, like,
loved
that
Underwater.
Was so scary.
So scary.
Oh man, the tension that they built in that.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect. I think we saw that together.
Saw it in Dolby.
In Dolby, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was sweating like 99% of that movie. It was so intense.
I'm just going to throw out random movie titles. I'm just glad to see you guys excited about them.
So good.
So good. Very Alien-esque. Remind me a lot of Alien. So.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
All right. So we're up to 3, Tyler.
Well, to continue on the Patrick Wilson train.
Yes.
I'm going to say Insidious. That is in my like young adult into adult life. That is the only movie. Love it. Yes.
Just picked it up. I have never seen it, so it's literally on my watch list. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Okay,
well,
I know this is recording and audio recording, but he just showed me his Blu-ray of Insidious.
Oh yeah, I didn't show you guys the wall before I started, but there's the.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Wait,
it's a wall of dreams.
Wait, we'll get back to it in a second. I'll show you mine.
Oh, please do. This is exactly the kind of tangent I want on this show.
Like,
oh, nice.
And a lot of them are still in North Carolina because I just have to bring a batch every now and then.
No, definitely. This is the wall of Blu-ray. I had to this like holds like 600 or something, and I had to move some into this one behind me now as well because I just took up too much space.
Yeah,
and
I still, I know everything's digital now, but I still buy Blu-rays and DVDs because I love having the hard copy.
That's it. And during the pandemic, when everyone's internet started getting slow because everyone was streaming at once, I was like, who's an idiot now for owning Blu-rays?
I know. Now, I still have my Blu-ray player, but now that I have these steel books and stuff like that, I'm saving up to get a 4K player. But sorry, lost my train.
No, that's okay. We're nerding out. This is great. I've got all my DVDs in the garage, but if I put them in here, then I wouldn't be able to do my day job. I'm so sorry. Insidious. You were talking about Insidious.
Insidious, yes. That was the first and only movie now, like to this day, that, well, like I said, in my young adult into adult life, that I saw. I went to the midnight opening and came home. It was a Thursday night, it was a Friday morning. I was in college and I had like an 8 a.m. class the next day, and I could not go to sleep nor turn my lights off. Like I opened up the closet, I looked under the bed, I turned my lights on, I kept trying to go to sleep. I could not. The movie stuck with me for a couple of days. And that's another one where like it's such a good like character driven horror. Like the family dynamic is really strong, and Patrick is so good. Rose Byrne, I'm obsessed.
I love Rose Byrne.
Love her.
I want her career.
That's another actor. I didn't talk about Jodie King. Put her in more things. I know she's in a lot, but
well, she can do it all too. Like she's so funny. She's so funny. She's so dropped when she's in dramas. Like she's so talented.
Yeah.
She should be having like the Amy Adams career. That's what she should be having. There are a couple of actresses out there, like Rosario Dawson's another one who I love, but it's just for some reason not quite in the spotlight. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, I don't know. That's it. It is interesting. I think being like a film snob are in the spotlight just because I love them so much that like I don't think of the broader outside of the LA bubble how people view them. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, Rose Byrne, she's so good. You have got to watch Insidious.
It's on my list. The only reason I haven't watched it yet is because I know it's going to be a daytime watch. Because otherwise, and I don't get a lot of days off to myself. I'm very lucky. My wife and daughter, I said, I'm interviewing these very important people from Hollywood. And she was like, okay, no worries, we'll leave. So they went out. So I've got some time to myself. But the next time I have a day off midweek, Insidious is on the list to watch. But I know it's going to be a daytime watch because I will, as much as I love horror, I will absolutely have nightmares, or I will be staying up. And I know it's one that will sit with me. I keep seeing the screenshot of the red face. That's nightmare fuel on its own without it actually,
So yeah, that with the red face, like I don't want to spoil anything. I mean, you already know what it looks like, but like the first time you see it, the way that's edited is so powerful.
And James Wan again, like
yeah.
The man has a good eye.
Now, do you go in for the sequels with Insidious? Because I know some people are quite on the fence about the sequels.
I have not seen any of the sequels.
Okay.
Which I really, now that Insidious 5 is coming out soon, which I know like Insidious 2, Chapter 2 is a direct sequel to the original, but I think Insidious 3 and 4 are like prequels or other storylines. But Insidious 5, which Patrick Wilson directed.
Oh, fantastic. That's right, he did, yeah.
Yeah, brings back his family from the first two. So that's making me want to watch at least Insidious 2.
Let's definitely, we should have an Insidious movie night soon. We'll get the crew together.
Yeah. Oh, that those might be hard to like binge.
Do it as his movie day. Be like, guys, we're going to have a picnic. It's 12 in the afternoon. Will we find the lights are on?
Yep.
We talked about Patrick Wilson and Joey King in Conjuring before. I'm just kind of crossing over because there's some James Wan shared territory. Vera Farmiga, obviously, and then her sister Tysa is in The Nun. And now James Wan wants to get them together in a film, which I'm like, this could not be better. Like, another couple of wonderful actresses who really I think Tysa was in, I can never pronounce her name right, so I apologize. I think she was in American Horror Story as well, and she's just everything she does. She's so wonderful.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, and they look so identical almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think we were together when I saw The Nun. I think I was with Rochelle and Vanessa when Rochelle.
I think I saw that by myself.
Wow, bold.
Love watching.
You did what I did with Hereditary. I'm like, by myself, let's go. This will be fine.
Oh man, by yourself. That I saw Hereditary in a movie theater full of people, and it was still not enough people for me to feel safe. It's like,
I went and saw Hereditary on a matinee. I used to have a Wednesday off, so I used to love going to a matinee by myself. 10 in the morning, movie by myself. Like, this is great. I never watched a single trailer for Hereditary. I just said all I'd heard was all the buzz from the festivals. Like, it was like the big. I think it was in Sundance, was all this like praise about it. And one of the girls on Collider were talking about it, and they're like, look, it's long, but it redefines everything about horror. And I was like, great, I don't need to see a trailer, I'll go in.
Yeah.
Cut to me having maybe the most traumatic time of my life.
When Toni Collette is screaming, like I think I stood up out of my seat. Like, I was so physically just moved, disturbed. I stood up. I was like, I can't handle it. It's too real.
That 30-second scream that just cuts between, like, discovery to funeral to more. I'm just like, again, like, why was this woman not nominated? Like, this is a pitch perfect performance.
Yeah.
It's because the Academy doesn't like horror.
Even though it's filled with skeletons and corpses. But is that
yeah, it's weird. Like, there was like a whole people like were frustrated when Get Out got nominated for an Oscar because there's so many filmmakers that don't consider horror like masterful,
right? Which is crazy.
Which horror I think is so hard to direct.
So hard.
The thing with horror is that it can be cheap. It can be cheap, and so therefore everyone's like, "Oh yeah, let's get a bucket of paint. That's fine. Let's just get some food dye and some corn flour, and we'll be all good." But there is, suspense is, it's an art. You can't just make a horror film and expect it to be scary. And we've seen time and time again, like, people who think they can do it and not quite execute it. So I'm trying to be very diplomatic. That's how I treat it on the show. But Get Out is a wonderful movie, like such a wonderful, and that is a fun horror film, even though it's very uncomfortable at places and legitimately scary.
It's like,
yeah, it's so clever. It was so brilliant, and it was like the first of that kind that I had seen, and I loved seeing that in theaters.
I haven't seen Nope yet. I quite liked Us, although nothing is ever going to be Get Out, but I did quite like Us. But Nope, I'm really excited to see. And I've heard some good things about that one. So, alrighty, number 3, Harley. What do we got?
Okay, so I've had debates with people about whether or not it's a horror film, but Signs is.
That's a horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people have argued that it's a drama. Yes. Okay. Fine. It is a drama, but it is both. It is, again, it's like, it is the first, I think it's the first horror film I saw in theaters. Although I will say, this is a kind of a side tangent, but I did see The Mummy in theaters, and that movie gave me nightmares, like the bugs crawling and not a horror film, but did terrify me. But yeah, Signs was like the first proper horror movie I saw in theaters, and it's one of my comfort movies. I rewatch it every year on my birthday.
Nice.
I love it so much. I love the family dynamic. I love the idea of like the questioning of like miracles versus coincidences, and I don't know. I think it's moving. I think it's scary. I can quote almost the entire thing. I don't know. I love it. I thought that M. Night Shyamalan had a really strong, little go there for a moment. I like a lot of his work. I know people argue that it's not great, but
I think M. Night Shyamalan is one of those directors who he's the easy target.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, people are like, oh, let me guess the twist ending. Like, do you know what I mean? But like people just like, he's just an easy punching bag. But the guy, again, we talk about finding that niche and finding a career that you want. Like, he's got his audience.
Yeah.
And he's done some wonderful things recently. I wasn't a huge fan of Glass, but Split is brilliant.
Split is so good.
I saw that in the ArcLight. So I was actually in LA when that movie came out. And I got to see it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
R.I.P. to ArcLight.
So I was so like, and when it closed, I was like, I'm so glad I got there. I'm so glad I got to the ArcLight and see it. But Split is wonderful. The Visit is fine, I think. Like I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
I liked it. I totally
I really liked Olds. I actually think Olds quite interesting, like it's such an unusual concept.
I agree. I saw it with a group of people and it was funny because I think his movies split the crowd. Like my friend Rochelle and I, she's another she's in our cast as well and she's a part of our horror group. Her and I, we loved it. We were raving about it and then there was other people in our group who were like, that was the worst movie I've ever seen. And so I'm like, I guess we just have good taste in you. Yeah, I thought it was a super interesting concept. I loved watching, like to me, it's always interesting. You put a group of people in a situation and just like watch what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's such a basic premise and yet so fascinating because you see the humanity and, watching people tear each other apart. It's like watching reality TV in a way.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great analogy. That's why I found The Descent so scary. I don't know if you've seen The Descent. The Neil Marshall film from 2005, but just the idea of like, we're 5 friends and we're going to support each other through a really difficult time. Oh, we're screwed and now we're going to kill each other. It's like, no, you were friends, remember? Like,
right. Yeah, that's Bodies is also a great.
Have you seen it?
No, it hasn't. I don't know if it's been released over here yet. It's definitely on its way to be released. It'll probably just be an automatic Blu-ray buy for me. I'm at the point in my life, I'm like, you know what? I can throw down $20-30 on a movie and take a gamble. So
don't look up anything about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Don't read anything about it. Bodies is one of my like favorite movie going experiences of the last like 5 years, maybe.
Me too. Same.
I think what I have heard about, and I haven't heard anything spoiled, but I think one thing that audiences struggle with is that the cast is meant to be unlikable. I think that's the idea. And people have trouble with that. My wife's someone like that. She's like, if the main character is unlikable, she finds it really hard to get into. Whereas I'm like, oh no, that's fine. Like, I can watch an unlikable cast. That's okay. As long as if that's the point, pay it off for me, and that's fine.
Right. Yeah, it definitely is that. Like you never really know who you're rooting for, but I kind of like that because, to me it's more interesting than just having like one clear hero.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I wanna love to hate ya.
Well, I really liked that about Train to Busan. I don't know if you've seen the.
I watched that over the pandemic.
That's an interesting pandemic choice.
I was like, let's just watch some zombie movies. Like,
let's watch 28 Days Later as well. Like,
yeah, let's watch Contagion.
I did
that
on March 16th.
Oh man, yep.
But yeah, I thought Train to Busan did that really well, where the dad is quite unlikable, and even the guy who ends up kind of helping him out later, he's kind of unlikable as well, because it's just the idea, as you said, putting people in a stressful situation and watch them become, revealing their nature, I suppose. And
right.
But that film's wonderful, and that's another film that made me cry. Like that ending is really heartbreaking.
Oh yeah.
We skipped over science. We went on a real Shyamalan tangent, which is fine. That footage, which is obviously replicating the Bigfoot footage, is great. Like it's what a great use of kind of replicating that moment in history. I think it's really effective.
Yep. I quote. I don't know the actual words. It's probably. I'm not even gonna try to imitate it, but that scene is one of my favorite scenes ever of all time of my whole life. That reveal when they're at the kids' party. Mm-hmm. And it's like the found footage moment and the alien walks out and it's just like glued on the screen. Like I felt like Joaquin Phoenix in that closet. I was just like, oh my God. And it looked so real. And obviously I think I was 11 when I saw it. And so I would have nightmares of aliens walking up my stairs to my bedroom every night. But I just, like, again, the family dynamics were so beautiful. And moving to me, I thought, I love Joaquin Phoenix. I think he's so great. And Mel Gibson for all of his, the
we have to separate art from artists sometimes. Yeah.
Like, no, he's the father. He's not. Yeah.
That's a movie I've only seen once or twice, but I quote it, I would say, every week.
Wow.
Like Swing Away Meryl has just become like in the lexicon for me, where if someone's like, I want to give this a go, hey, Swing Away Meryl, and people never know what I'm talking about. But
Yeah, my boyfriend makes fun of me because I leave water cups. Like, I also am very particular about the taste of my water, and so you walk into my apartment and I literally have water cups like all over. It's like, did you get this from this movie? I was like, no, I swear, I just don't. I'm particular about my water.
So just to anyone listening who was worried about her living alone, she's got 2 guard dogs and an alien defense unit with her cups of water. So we're fine.
Exactly.
That's a great choice. And that's such an underrated flick. Like, again, he's such an easy punching bag for audiences, but his movies are pretty, like, I mean, Last Airbender and I think Lady in the Water, I think those are the 2 big strikes on his.
Yeah. I never saw Last Airbender. So
I haven't either, by the way. I use those 2. I've never seen either of those films, but I know they're the ones people punch on. So
yeah. I know. I liked The Village. I know people punch on that too, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was spooky, and I love a twist ending. Like, I love, because the whole movie you're like, what's happening, and then you're like,
I see dead people.
I'm surprised. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I see dead people.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Sixth Sense, but geez, what nightmare fuel.
Right. I loved it. I thought the acting was so great in it. I love it.
Nice one. I'm just keeping an eye on the clock. We've got plenty of time, but I know that Tyler has an appointment. So I'm not rushing you guys, certainly not, but I also am very aware that you have lives outside of my little podcast. Tyler, we'll jump to number 2.
I'm going to have to say, and I already talked a little bit about why, but I'm going to have to say I Know What You Did Last Summer. Because it is what introduced me to horror. And it's I feel weirdly close to that movie just because, like, I still watch it to this day and I'm like, I know exactly where that is. That's right next to the coffee shop that I go to when I go and visit. So it's just, that movie brings me so much joy. I watch it every year on July 4th. And I mean, Julie James, Jennifer Love Hewitt became like such a crush of mine when I was 6 years old.
Me too.
So Geller, because then not long after that, it was Buffy.
Yeah.
And it's such a pivotal moment in my life because that's when I discovered horror. And I mean, now I'm working in horror and it's a big community that I'm a part of. So I have to give credit to that movie. And also Kevin Williamson, he's also a North Carolina boy. We grew up not that far from each other. So there's a kinship to it as well.
I love that connection to home, and that's something that I feel growing up in Australia, we don't have a lot of. We're not a big movie making country, and I've said in the past that I don't have a lot of favorite Australian films because it's a lot lower budget. They kind of look like they were shot on a handy cam. A lot of them, they're getting better. The Loved Ones, which is about 10 years old now, if you ever saw The Loved Ones, is a wonderful Australian horror film. Obviously, James Wan is doing all sorts of wonderful things over there. But I've never felt that home connection to any of the movies that we've been making. So hearing that kind of that affiliation with I grew up there's the coffee shop. Like that's so wonderfully beautiful in a very twisted way. We were like, hey, where'd that person get killed? I know that. And it had the quintessential teen cast, everyone in that, it's Freddie Prinze Jr., everyone, every attractive person from the 90s is in that movie, it feels like.
It started Sarah Michelle Gellar's and Freddie Prinze Jr.'s love story. It's still strong. I
love that.
I mean, it's just the music in it too. I love coastal North Carolina. It's one of my favorite places in the world, and it's depicted so well. And if you want to get a taste of it, either watch I Know What You Did Last Summer or watch a Nicholas Sparks movie, essentially.
True.
Because that's the only thing that's filmed there. But I feel that now with Scream 2022, because that was filmed in Wilmington, North Carolina, which is 20 minutes away. And so the first clip of Sydney in Scream 5, she's running down the Riverwalk, which is one of my favorite places to go. And
yes.
And that's also where the Ice House restaurant is from Dawson's Creek, which was also Kevin Williamson. And so I just have like so many like geek out ties. And like this is another one I'm going to throw out really quick. Like in Scream 5, when Sam and Richie are driving into Woodsboro, and you see them driving down a street, they're driving on Front Street, and to the like slight left of the frame, there's like a brick wall that you can see, and that's Joey's wall from season 3 of Dawson's Creek. So it's like I think little location details like that. So long story short, it's one of the reasons why I Know What You Did Last Summer is one of my favorite movies.
I love I Know What You Did Last Summer. I know we're talking about it just before. I say just before. We've been going for almost an hour and a half. That was one of the first horror films that I watched, in that time, because I loved slashers. Even though slashers are notoriously violent and grisly, I think they're a nice entry level to horror for teens, because whilst they're quite bloody and gory, the scares are kind of minimal. They're just jump scares, and you kind of can relate to. They're trying to show that reflection of who you are on the screen. It's very teen-driven horror, and that film is so much fun. I always think of the scene where Sarah Michelle Gellar's getting her crown, and her boyfriend's being murdered. And she's literally watching it happen, and no one really buys into it.
Harry.
Yeah. And then the sequel, of course, one of the early debuts of Jack Black.
Yeah. I mean, I don't love the sequel.
You didn't like Will Benson? You didn't like the twin?
Ben's son. I was like, well, okay. But the tanning bed moment was very, very scary. And I don't know. Like, I mean, have I seen it more than 10 times? Yes. So, I mean, I still enjoy watching it. But you know what I don't enjoy is I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. Didn't finish it. I
haven't seen it. Knowing that pretty much no one from the original product, I can't say words. It's Saturday morning here. I think I'll be fresh. Knowing really original from that production was involved in the third one, so I was like, I'll get there. It's just not on my watch list right now.
Yeah, you don't need it.
Yeah, I'd rather a reboot. Give me I was gonna say get like Jenny Ortega, but she's in Scream, so it's probably give me like a modern young cast. Get like the new kids. They can all be unknowns as far as I care. Let's get them in, and then just throw like a legacy actor in there. Let's have some fun with it. Jennifer Love Hewitt, I'm sure, would love to come back. She'd be great, taking on that role.
I love her. I love her so much.
Yeah, I've watched many a not so great film because of my obsession with her as a teenager. So.
I mean, I have seen almost every movie she's been in, as well as Neve Campbell.
Yeah.
And Neve Campbell has done some amazing films, though. I will say that.
She's wonderful, and I forgot how good she was. I was watching Scream last time. I'm like, gee, she was pretty fresh in Hollywood at this point. I think she'd just done Party of Five maybe before that. But I know, previously she'd been rooming with Tara Strong. I don't know if you know the voice actress Tara Strong. They lived together in Hollywood for about a month, and then Neve Campbell booked Party of Five and became this megastar. And then just did all these, but yeah, her performance is so believable. She's so wonderful in that film. So
you should do a deep dive on YouTube and find her testing tapes for it. So I was like, I see why she got it.
Mm-hmm.
She's so.
I love that stuff. Harley, you have not had a chance. Oh, sorry.
I was about to tell a very embarrassing story. It can
do
wait.
It. No, do it. No, Harley, stop everything.
Tell us.
Okay, so I met Neve Campbell 4.5 years ago. I was working at a coffee shop, and it was a Saturday morning, 7 a.m. We had just opened. I literally crawled out of my bed at 6:30. So I'm still waking up, and the first customer of the day, she walks through the door, and I immediately I recognize her, but I just think that she's a regular. And then as soon as she approaches the counter, she smiles, and I freeze, and gives me her coffee order, and I just nod my head, and I'm turning around to get the cups to write in on the cups to put it next to the espresso machine. And as I'm turning around in my head, I'm like, I don't know what she said. And so I had to turn back to her all red face and not cool in any way, and just had to say, I'm so sorry, but I didn't hear anything that you just said. That's all I could say. And, will never forget what she ordered now. She got an Americano and a double espresso. But when I went to go ring her out, the entire time I'm walking to the cash register, I'm like, do I say something? Do I not? Do I say something? Do I not? And like, there was this voice. I was like, 7-year-old you is going to kill you if you do not. So I did come a bit easier than it started out. And I was just like such a big fan of Scream. And you could tell she was like, I get this a lot. But she was like, thank you so much. That's very kind. And then I just dove into like all of her movies. And when I mentioned The Company, which she wrote the story for because she used to be a dancer, her face like lit up. And I was like, here we go. And then she stood there and talked to me for like 5 minutes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And she didn't remember it. So
that's yeah, but that's okay. That's not that embarrassing because you saved it. And that's the key. Like I haven't really, been able to meet too many heroes and stuff. But my thing is like if I ever do, I've got to go with the deep cut. Like, go with the thing that, they wouldn't expect to, you to talk about. So like with me, like with Kevin Smith, it's like I need to talk about Jersey Girl. Because most people hated that film, but I love Jersey Girl.
That movie had some heart.
It and as a father now, like the film's been redefined for me. But even as when I was 17 or 18, I watched it. Growing up with with my dad, my parents are divorced with a single dad. I really related to it, and so I'm like, this is all right. That's the one I'll reference. Like everyone talks about Mallrats and stuff, but if I talk about Jersey Girl, it might be like, oh, okay, he's been paying attention. So you did the right move going to the deep cut.
Yeah.
And that's not embarrassing at all. I think that's a pretty, that's a pretty reasonable reaction to get a little bit starstruck.
Yeah, I guess so. I just always like to think that I could play it cool. And I've met celebrities and I'm fine, but her,
she's different.
Wow.
That's we're all about positivity here on the show, so we're never going to tear you down. That's why I couldn't vote what we were going to do to Harley if you guys hit 8,000. I'm like, I can't choose something horrible. I'll just like the post and move on. Harley, what's your number 2?
I mean, we've discussed it already so much, but
yes, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, my 1 and 2 could go back and forth really, but Hereditary just, I loved it so much. It was visceral. It was moving. It was terrifying. I'm doing a motion with my hands. I know you can't see me when you're listening, but
the piano wire. Yep.
Yeah, her crawling in the corner.
Yep.
It's Alex Wolff that's in it, right?
Yes.
I keep saying his brother. I flip their names around, but his performance was incredible.
So good.
When he was hitting his head on the desk, I mean, obviously it's like jarring, but his commitment throughout the entire movie and their relationship, like how tumultuous it was after it happened. Because it's like, for me, I love horror in its exploration of like real human emotions, like grief and, the family dynamics. It's why I love Signs too, because you're watching people deal with real life things, like real tragedy.
Yeah, definitely.
And it becomes like a part of the horror. It becomes a part of what makes everything so scary. And I just freaking loved it. It was my first it was Ari Aster's first big. Yeah, it was the first.
That's his first debut feature. Yeah.
To have that as your debut feature, I'm like,
you're done. Like that's it. You can go home. Like.
Yeah, and then he was like, "Oh, here's Midsommar too," and I'm like, we were just talking. We're so excited to see his next one with Joaquin Phoenix of all people. So I'm like, he can do no wrong in my eyes. It was just so great.
It really is the family dynamic about that film that makes it for me. Like I was talking about this last week. Generally, when you watch a family horror film, you're talking about Conjuring. It's the family coming together, but this family hates each other. And they're really out for themselves. And there's like, if they're like, whatever love is there, like it is not on the screen. They are isolating themselves from each other. There's no support, and it's their undoing because they're not working together. And
100%. Yeah, and I think that like the relationship that he has with his sister and the like connect there, the age difference. Like I think it's themes, at least for me. Like I was kind of a bratty teenager when I was growing up, and I was the oldest sibling, and I felt, rebellious against my parents, and like taking my younger sibling to a party is definitely something my parents would have made me do. And I would like, oh God, like, why do I have to do this? And I don't know. To me, it was so like relatable in that way. And so, yeah, like I deeply connected with, and the fight that they have, that Toni Collette and Alex Wolff have at the table, like how, because he's not expressing his grief or his sorrow or anything, and she says like, I thought that this would be something that could at least bring us together, like at least we would have something good come out of this, but we can't even have that. Like you're not even sorry. I don't know. It was just like so moving. I think she's fantastic.
It's so bleak. It's so upsetting.
Right. Yeah. In that ending moment, you're like, maybe that's hope. Maybe.
It does have one of my favorite edits of all time. Previously, my favorite edit of all time was in Hostel, where they go to cut his toe off and it cuts to a girl painting her toenail. I think it's been replaced by Hereditary, where he sees her head roll off and becomes a basketball. Like that.
Yeah.
It's like, it might be the only moment of levity in that entire film where I was just like, oh, good, a joke. Thank you. Like,
small and quick, but
yeah. And then you also have like, you talked about the crawling on the roof before, like,
creepy. So creepy.
Thank goodness that film is ridiculous at the end. And I mean that in a compliment. Like, it just goes so crazy, because otherwise you just don't know how you'd move on. I was talking about, and Tyler mentioned here, we talking about Midsommar last week. After I went and saw Hereditary, I was like, all right, I'm going to walk my dogs and get some fresh air. Like, that way I can just like unpack what I saw. Top of the first hill at my old house, and my dog's stopping there sniffing something. I look over, headless pigeon. And I was like, oh, well, that's an omen. Like,
oh my God.
Oh no.
I'd be like, nope, all right, going home, staying home for the rest of the day.
I was like, okay, like, I'm just going to give up. Oh, it's so unsettling.
Yeah, wow. That would have been really intense.
Yeah.
But like, it's a wonderful film. Like, I know, like, my reaction to it has been absolute dread. It's just, I just don't know if I could sit through it again. It just upset me so much. And films don't really upset me. Like, every now and then you just think it's like, oh, that was a bit rough. But it just hit every single emotional point where I was just like, I don't know if I need to feel that way again. Like, that's the closest to experiencing loss I want to feel. I know it's not, but he really captured that feeling so well. Like,
yeah. And that's like one thing I love about Toni Collette. She's such a sympathetic actress. Like, you feel what she's feeling, and you like as an audience, like that's one of my goals as an actor. Like, I want people to be able to connect with like their own emotional experience, like through what they're seeing. Like, if one person can experience that after watching my work, like, I'm like, oh, I've made it. That is it. Success. Because it truly, like, it's just such a powerful thing, and it takes going there. Like, you know what I mean? She had to really commit to that feeling, and that's horrifying. Like, to really let yourself go there. I don't know. Like, that's something that scares me as an actor. I'm like, oh my God.
well, you've got the writing talent next to you, and you've got the chops. I'm sure, like, once Scream's done, make the most upsetting, dreadful film possible. Just prepare to get absolutely no appreciation, just like Toni Collette, because to this day I'm just like, how dare they not give her anything? Like, that is, it borderline, like, it almost crosses over from performance to reality, which is like, it's so believable. Alrighty, here we are. Look, I feel like I know what number one is for Tyler, but let's go with number one, what we've been building to this whole time.
Bambi.
Terrifying, and what a twist.
That's also a quote from Scream 4.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, yeah, it'd be off-brand if I didn't say Scream.
What?
I know. It's just such a shocker. People still meet me and they're like, "You like Scream?" And I'm like, "I know, it's weird." No, it's my favorite movie. Weirdly, okay, this is gonna sound so bizarre, but we've already talked quite a bit about Scream, and I have a feeling we're gonna talk a little bit more about it. So I'm just gonna like not talk about Scream for a second. But the close number 2 of favorite movie of all time, and this is how I like pitch myself professionally, is I'm a mix of the Scream franchise meets the Before Sunrise franchise.
That is I haven't. It's on my list. It's on my wish list to buy the whole trilogy. But yeah, like it's look. I've said before, sometimes I lose some cred, and look, I'm gonna lose some cred right now as a film snob. I have not, but it's definitely been on my to-do list. I love both Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy. Like,
it's exquisite. Like, picture perfect, phenomenal. They should have also won everything for those movies. People like get that immediately with me. Like, they're like, oh, of course you love Before Sunrise and Richard Linklater. But I do, for people who don't really know me, I present as, I think, a very like, just like all American, nice kind of guy. And then when they're like, you're a horror nerd, I'm like, yeah. And
you contain multitudes.
So Scream is my number 1, hands down.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, like, I'm glad I rewatched it last night. I got through like 80% of it. Like, I will finish it today, but I'm glad I went back to it because I found so much more in it this time around. I was just like, as I said, that opening like 12 minutes is chilling. Like, the first time I watched it, I was kind of like, this is fun. It's pretty full on, and like, yeah, like there's some dated 90s stuff, but that's going to happen when you're making it. I wouldn't say a period piece, but a movie of its time. It's going to have some. But the characters still work. There's nothing really kind of aged. Like, sometimes, especially in the 80s, but even early 90s, you'll get some jokes that don't quite land for a modern audience. But it's pretty clean. Like, it works. It holds up really well. It's a solid choice, and I would have been ashamed if it wasn't your number 1.
Yes.
No, not at all. But I'm glad it is. I've got no idea what yours is, Harley. I can't pick. Like, you've done a lot of exorcism stuff, so I'm leaning there, but I just don't know what number 1's going to be.
So my number 1 is drum roll.
Yes.
Babadook.
Wow. Okay.
Which it feels kind of maybe like a random choice, but to me it encapsulates all of the things that I love about horror in that it's really just a story of grief.
Yes.
And of healing, while also scaring the absolute shit out of me at the same time. I think it was one of the only horror films that I watched by myself the first time I saw it, because I had heard nothing about it. I didn't know what to expect. And
that was brave of you.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to finish this. Like, I turned my light on and I was like, okay, well, we're here. So I guess this is happening. And I remember being like, this is one of the most terrifying movies I've ever seen. And then getting to the end and just completely sobbing, like, bawling my eyes out. I thought it was such a beautiful story about love and family and grief and dealing with grief and family dynamics. And I don't know, I just love it. I love it so much. And it's the movie I recommend to people who are like trying to get into horror movies, because I'm like, horror movies that are scary just for the sake of being scary are super fun and great. And I love them, clearly. But when you can get like that little punch in the gut at the end where it has heart, I don't know. To me, I'm like, it's perfect. I love it.
As soon as you said that, it made perfect sense. Like, all we've talked about on your list is grief and family, and and like, it sounds like that's where I guess the idea of fear stems for you, where it's just like, I talked about isolation last week, the idea of being alone or having that support system or not having, like, those are really terrifying human things, and something that we're all going to experience if we haven't at some point. So I guess it's nice that they put it in movies for us to prepare us for it a little bit.
I think it's sort of like a entertaining way to cope with like the very real terrifying things that we will deal with in life, like loss and grief and disconnection, and I think it's like a great way to experience those feelings and experience those things that's not just so head on, like, because obviously, like, you can watch a good drama and it'll give you that, but I don't know, watching it in a horror movie I like the metaphors. Like I love a good metaphor. And I don't know, it's kind of like a roundabout way where you can experience that without being like hit over the head with it, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I think the people who don't watch horror or refuse to accept horror as a legitimate genre are missing.
I agree.
It's, people are like, and even my wife to extent, I'm not throwing her under the bus, and she doesn't listen to the show anyway, but if she did, she'll know, because she doesn't understand. And I was trying to explain it last week. I'm like, well, part of it's just the taboo. Like, it's just, it feels a bit dangerous. It's, kind of manufactured danger, so you can kind of enjoy. Quentin Tarantino has a wonderful quote. He said, like, in the early 90s, where he's like, I love violence on screen, but never in real life. Or I'm paraphrasing there. And that's kind of how I feel. Like, show me the extremes on screen that I can handle. Like, don't take it too far. But show me those extremes on screen so I can process it in my own way. And yeah, there's a bit of taboo there, but also, like, it's that emotional outlet. Like, that's what film does for us. Like, it translates the untranslatable sometimes. It helps us connect with other people from different corners of the globe, different backgrounds, and different understandings. And I think horror really does that in a way that other genres kind of struggle to do, because you have that. There's just more you can do with the genre. You can take it to wild, wacky places. It can be silly or scary or funny or heartbreaking in a way that other movies can't necessarily do.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, to circle back to Scream, like, one of the things I love about Scream is like the commentary on horror itself, like on the genre and on the way that, like, we consume horror and the way that it translates into like experiencing real life horror. And I don't know, I like I said, I love a meta moment. I love a metaphor. Like, it's creative, and I don't know, like, you can have straightforward conversations about grief and loss and all those different things, but I don't know, if you can surprise me with it and scare me and make me laugh along the way, like, that's the way to go.
Yeah,
definitely. Those are two excellent lists. If people haven't picked up some movies for their October watch list by now, like, you haven't been paying attention. Those are all some solid ones there. The ones that I haven't seen are definitely going to my list. As you know, I've got Insidious sitting there. So as soon as I've got a bright sunny day, and a house to myself, I'll put it on. And I've got to give Exorcism of Emily Rose a go as well, because that's one that I haven't gone back to. So
yeah.
Excellent. Let's talk a bit more about your movie. That's why we're here. We did have a rapid fire question round, but we are getting short on time, and I'd rather promote your art, because that's what we're here to do, and I want to give you all the support you can. So Indiegogo campaign is live right now. It ends at the end of October. Is that right?
November 1st.
November 1st. Beautiful. What do they need to do? Where do they need to go?
You can go to our Instagram, which is at Scream the Fan Favorite, and it's linked in the profile. Or you can just search us on Indiegogo, type in Scream the Fan Favorite. Also on, like, at least our personals as well. My Instagram is DEAR Tyler Hansen, SEN. It's also linked in my profile, and I believe on Harley's as well.
Yeah, mine's at Harley Bronwyn. Also, randomly, Bronwyn is one of the characters in the new Rings of Power movie or show, and that is really exciting to me, because people always look at me weird when I say my name is Bronwyn. I'm like, it's a cool name.
It's a relatively common name over here in Australia. I've known a few Bronwyns in my time.
Oh my gosh, I need to move to Australia.
Come on down. We've got room, but we're very distant from the arts, so you might have to give up the career down here. The script is wonderful. As I said, I've read it before. I haven't read the ending. Which Harley was like, "Look, we can't give you the ending." I'm like, "That's fine." Like, I understand that. I don't want to spoil it, but it's so lovingly crafted. Whenever you read a script, especially as a writer, I've got a writing background myself. You're always a little bit nervous about reading other people's work, but it's such a love letter to the franchise. It does this wonderful thing where it's very meta, but very much its own thing as well, where you could very easily just say Sidney Prescott 10 times per page and like hammer it home, but you don't. There are some light references in there from here, there, but very much is its own thing, and feels very much in line with what the franchise is as well. I said to Harley, it's unputdownable. I read it like in 20 minutes. Like, she sent it, I woke up at 6 a.m. My daughter woke me up, and I went to go get her out of bed, and she was like, "Oh no, I don't want you." So I was like, "All right, well, I'm going to go read a script, and you let me know when you want me." And I think in about 20 minutes, I just consumed it. Like I just couldn't stop reading it. So yeah, 6:30 in the morning, I was like, Harley, I'm done. This is great.
Oh, we appreciate it.
Yeah, so much.
There's about 20 pages more that.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. No, the characters are great. That opening scene, I won't spoil anything, but just the transition you do, the kind of the reveal, I was like, oh, I like that a lot. That's very very cool. I'm trying to talk about it without spoiling it too much, but I think the characters are really good. I love all the references. The Dawson reference, I now understand. I was like, is that a Dawson's Creek reference? And then when you said that Dawson's Creek was shot kind of in North Carolina, I'm like, oh, it definitely is.
Yes, yeah.
And it's fun. Like, that's what I like about it. It's fun. Like, when you do meta and you do fan films, I think it's very easy to kind of lean into it too hard, or like, especially being a film about Hollywood and acting and movie making, you can borderline in being like, I remember when I saw You're Next for the first time, I didn't like Ty West perform. I thought he was really leaning into the filmmaker thing too much. But you guys don't do it at all, and it's all about making a movie. And I never feel like you're like, by the way, we're in Hollywood. Like, it's
and there's the reason I like wrote Chrissy's character as not being in entertainment at all is because I needed that person that could be like, wait, what are you talking about? That way, I could also explain it to maybe the audience who wouldn't quite get it. But at the same time, like, this is a Scream fan film. I doubt someone who isn't a Scream fan is going to go to YouTube and type in Scream fan film. And the fandom of Scream, they're cinephiles.
Yeah.
So I'm very much relying on that, taking a bit of a risk. But that's exactly why I wrote Chrissy in there, in the off chance that there's someone who watches this and it's like, what's film?
Happening?
Yeah.
She's. I won't spoil it, but someone makes a joke about it and refers to it as something at one point. And I was like, you're hitting my spot right here. What a great joke.
Oh, I want to know which one.
Oh, it's not really a spoiler, but someone refers to her as a muggle, and I was like, oh, perfect. Like,
thank you. That's why, because I went to like a conservatory acting school, and we would refer to non-performing arts majors as muggles.
Oh, great.
Which, I mean, may have been bad. I don't know, but
I think it's fine.
That's where the idea for that came in.
I think if you had called them mudbloods, it would have been worse. So muggle, I think, is a safe term.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so you begin shooting in November. Is that the plan?
November 5th.
Excellent. Fantastic. And do you have, obviously with these things, it's all, depend on money and time and things, but do you have like an estimated date of finishing? Do you know when you plan to release it? Do you know what the steps are after that? Or is it all very early stages still for you?
Well, we are a bit pushed for time because this does fit into the current Scream timeline. So it does have to come out before Scream 6. So we're aiming for March 1st.
Nice one. Plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Excellent. And then what's next? Is this, I can't imagine you guys are going to be a one and done group. I feel like there's much more on the table beyond this. Are you thinking of this as a calling card, or is this just, hey, I want to do my fan thing and then I'm going to go and make my, I'm going to be Ari Aster and do my Hereditary?
I mean, it's definitely because it is so meta. I mean, it's truly just kind of like giving Hollywood IP to show what, we can do. And then from there, like, yeah, I have my own original stuff. I've got another project in development that's inspired by a true horror story that happened in my family 4 generations ago.
I did read something about that. I'm like, that's when I was like, we'll see if I ask about that one. I don't want to pry. Yeah.
Yeah, my great uncle was not a good guy, and so I have it written, and that's kind of the next project on my plate. But we'll get to that once post is done for Scream. That's my focus right now.
Nice one. Excellent. Is there anything else you guys want to add before we end the episode? Is there anything that we need to plug that we've missed?
Just, that even people sharing our Indiegogo link, if they can't contribute, just sharing the link is super helpful for us. And honestly, we're just so grateful. If anyone looks at it at all, it's because for us, we're trying to take control of our own destiny in a lot of ways. And in Hollywood, there's just a lot of waiting around, waiting for people to give you opportunities. And we we just we're tired of that. And we're like,
Yeah.
we want
Yes.
to do something for ourselves and create projects. Cause I've also like, I've worked on things where I was like, I don't like this project or this isn't something I believe in, or like, it's not something I'm super passionate about. And for me, like as an actor and on my journey, like I want my career to be full of projects that I love and like that have a piece of my heart. And for us, like we just are so grateful if anyone cares at all. Like it means the world. So
Yeah.
like a $5 donation is like that's $5 more that we have to like create something that we love. And so there's no contribution too small.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
More money, more blood.
Yes,
It's
That's
exactly.
it. No, what a great tagline. Go ahead and do it, guys. Go look at the page, give it a like, share it on your socials. As I said, $5, which is like only slightly different inflation down here in Australia. Like there's only a slight difference in there. I put my money on the table this morning, so like if I can do it, you guys can do it as well. I'm not even going to promote my stuff. We're just going to finish it right there. Thank you so much to Tyler and Harley. Thank you for coming on. You're more than welcome to come back again anytime you like. You're wonderful.
I would love to.
We have so many more movies to talk about that aren't
Yeah.
even horror.
Yeah.
I'm just
Please, we'll
Yeah.
come back anytime you want.
The Film Snob family tree has just grown a couple of branches, so you're more than welcome anytime. That's going to do it for this week's episode of I Was a Teenage Film Snob. I'm not going to promote myself. Go to their Indiegogo, go to their socials, check it all out. I'll be promoting it all week. And as I said, guys, I was a teenage film snob, but I'm trying to be better. We'll see you next week.